All right, here we are at the end of 2016 already, and we're looking back on the year and looking forward to the next year with our city manager in Battle Creek, Rebecca Fleury, and assistant city manager Ted Deering, both with us this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
We were just saying, where did 2016 go? Didn't we just celebrate New Year's?
Feels like that.
Yeah. So when you think about objectives that were set for the year and where we are now, how are we feeling at the moment?
Well, we always feel good in the city, Richard.
Well, that's true. That's true. I expected you to say nothing less.
Right, exactly. I mean, we look back at a lot of exciting things that happened, some tough things that happened, but we also look forward to where 2017 is taking us because, Ted and I both know there's a lot of things that are bubbling, and we expect to see some of those fruition things in 2017.
Mm-hmm. This might be the way this year has gone. It might be typical in that we've had some successes and then some job announcements here recently that have gone the other way. And you're just on that balance beam trying to hold this all in a level manner, aren't we?
Yes, you are. And, because we have a variety of employers in Battle Creek, those markets change. And, each employer has to adjust accordingly. And so we have been seeing those on both the goods and the struggles in 2016. Mm-hmm. And I would guess that will probably be in 2017 as well. But we like to say, our goal is to make sure that we keep those open lines of communication because we have such wonderful employers in Battle Creek. And so when one maybe has a reduction, there are others waiting to take on that skilled labor and workforce. And so we're seeing some great collaboration and working amongst our employers in Battle Creek to make sure we can minimize that on the community as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Ted, when you're in the middle of trying to make things happen and an announcement like that comes along that talks about job cuts, do you get pushback on that? Does somebody say, what happened there? Or are they so enthralled in what they're doing that there's no waves felt?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it's difficult for folks not to notice these things, obviously. Right. I think the challenge is to keep the narrative very positive. And, Rebecca touched on, I think what's important here is that, we do have a fairly diverse local economy, and it's really difficult to have everything going well at the same time. And so I think when it does happen, we say, yep, there's some challenges in that industry. Here's what's going on there, but here's what's going on over here too. Mm-hmm. So we try to look at the narrative as a whole so that we can, we feel good about our community. And I think we do, because I think there are, as Rebecca mentioned, there are a lot of things. I think this will be the year of the groundwork, as they say. We lay in the groundwork for a lot of good things that are going to happen in 2017. So we try to stay positive, keep the narrative positive, and think about, just think about progressing rather than going backwards.
Well, and if there was an overarching theme here in 2016, that might be it. I mean, we've heard this a fair amount, that the groundwork is being laid. Things are happening. We just weren't quite there yet.
Yeah, and I think we're feeling that all across Michigan, too. We're starting to come out of maybe some of what people call dark clouds over Michigan, and there's a lot of excitement because, from our perspective, the amount of interest and calls and questions about what's going on in Battle Creek are greatly on the rise. That's a good sign for all of us. While, we can't say that this, and this is going to happen, what we're hearing, that bubbling undertone is very encouraging and makes us think that 2017 will be a good year.
What do they ask most when they ask about what's going on here?
I think people generally, we deal a lot with kind of the commercial retail sector and obviously the downtown environment. And then when you're dealing with those folks, they're wondering about those kind of catalytic projects in the community. I mean, you and I have talked about this many times, Richard. It's very few folks that we talk to that we're trying to recruit to this community don't ask what's happening with the Heritage Tower project, for example. Right. So, they're very interested in those one or two kind of catalytic projects that they think could be the difference in creating the critical mass that would allow their business to be successful in the downtown, for example, or even on the Columbia or the Beckley Road corridor. And so we talk a lot about that. I think it's a little bit different probably in the industrial park. The larger industry trends, I think, are on the minds of those folks out there. But, again, it's all about, trying to share a positive narrative about what's going on in our jurisdiction and what's going on in the city of Battle Creek. And that's where we focus our efforts.
We're getting an update here from the city manager's office this half hour on WBCK. Back in a moment. We're here with the Battle Creek City Manager, Rebecca Fleury, and Deputy City Manager, Ted Deering, talking about 2016 and how things look as we head into 2017. Published report recently about the 180 urban situation with these buildings that may or may not get rehab. Does that, when you're watching that, it's a land bank thing and so on, and so that, as you watch that, does that affect some of the other mood that's going on?
Well, yes and no, I guess I would say. I still think that folks are fairly positive about what's going on in the downtown, and I don't think what's going on specifically with that is impacting other projects like the Battle Rock project or even the Heritage Tower project. And I think what we've learned through this process so far in 180 Urban and the Land Bank, we're very optimistic that they can work through this process. What we have learned, though, is that there's a very viable project at Carlisle. The work that's been done to this point has shown us that, okay, this project will work from a financial point of view. There are primary lenders that are interested in being part of the capital stack. This can be put together. I think the issue here might be what happens with these other buildings as we gain momentum and want to keep all the development going. So, hopefully they can work their way through their issues there. I think that they will. But I think ultimately the goal is there are other buildings in the downtown where there's interest, and we just want to make sure we don't miss a golden opportunity here.
I guess it underscores the notion that if this were easy, we'd have no empty space down there, right?
Exactly right. And, when we're talking about these older buildings, it's complex because there's many layers that have to happen in order to see it to success. I think the positive on that is that everybody wants the same thing. We want to see all of those buildings redeveloped and put back to create greater things in downtown Battle Creek. And so that, I think everybody's keeping their eye and focus on that. And, we can't ask for any more.
Right. When the treasurer-elect was here before the election, actually, we were talking about just things in general, and he was issuing concern about these kinds of projects that are structured based on a low purchase price with the promise that great things are going to come. And he was concerned that we're undervaluing this property. How do you address concerns like that? What are your thoughts?
Well, we haven't had a chance to talk to the treasurer-elect. That's on our list for 2017, if not before. I know he's really busy, kind of in that transition phase and preparing for his new really big role. But it has been our experience that has been very successful historically, especially in the core urban downtowns that are a little bit older, because as I said before, when you talk about buildings that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, they come with a whole host of challenges. And in order to get that pro forma, the financial package to work to get to a successful capital stack and to find and to create the interest for the commercial lenders, you've got to have all of these layers. And sometimes it means that the purchase price is low so that all the other things can happen that need to happen. Because when you're talking about rehabilitation, those buildings, they weren't built for today's code or needs.
Yeah.
And so that usually adds a lot of cost to a project. And so we look at it as just a layer in a larger project to get it to success.
And we've talked about this too, Ted, that there's a lot of work that has to be done, that if a potential buyer has to outlay 6 or 7 figures just to own the building, that might preclude anything else.
Yeah, and therein lies the challenge, obviously, because most of these buildings are, they're 20, 30, 40,000 square feet, and just to white box them, you're going to spend nearly $1 million. So if you put $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 into the purchase price, then most developers are going to make the decision that that's not something that they want to do. So, but the goal obviously also is to make progress on this, and we are. We've sold. Land Bank has sold a couple buildings for a nominal amount, but subsequent to that, then the next building we actually sold for a little bit more. And now we're working on one right now that's selling for a little bit more. So we're adding value by putting some of these initial deals in place. So, no, we don't want to be there forever. But we recognize the reality of these types of developments, as Rebecca talked about, and that our goal is to make progress over time.
A dollar building that paves the way to a rehab building and a quicker path to the tax rolls is what we're talking about.
Exactly. But we want to work with the treasurer-elect to make sure that, he's comfortable and understands where we're coming from, and that this is part of a larger plan, to create that vibrancy and to get a lot of those buildings back online for use in the downtown, because we know we've got this young entrepreneurial pipeline that these companies are looking for places to be and be successful, and we want to help them get there. And these are just parts of the pieces to do that.
Rebecca Fleury and Ted Deering here from the city manager's office. Short break. We're here with the city manager, Rebecca Fleury, and deputy city manager, Ted Deering. A few more minutes here. So in tandem with all of this that's going on, Battle Creek Unlimited has had some changes this year and has been, I suppose, still working to get some footing internally, but that doesn't mean the phones don't stop ringing, right?
That's exactly right. Their new CEO, Joe Soborowski, is doing, he's putting together his new team in Battle Creek, but he is also getting calls and inquiries about Battle Creek. That's a great thing for us to hear.
Right.
And so I know that he's got a plan for 2017. They're going to start prepping some very large industrial sites to be ready, shovel-ready sites for businesses to come in, because that's what we're hearing, is that companies, they want you to have all of that preliminary work done so they can just come in, build their business, and get going.
Boy, that's a little bit of a leap of faith, isn't it?
It is, but, and I think Joe's done a lot of his homework, because he's getting those inquiries and he's seeing the communities that are being successful have those ready sites. And so I give him and his team a lot of credit. They're having some foresight, and they have the resources to be able to do that. So we're very encouraged, and we're standing right aside them, supporting them in that effort.
We talked about the Ford here a second ago, but not at any great length. At this point, though, this is a gem in the area that helps underscore other interests, right?
Absolutely. It's not only a gem in the area, it's a gem internationally. They talk about trips to Japan. Everybody knows Fort Custer. They know Battle Creek, the success we've had. And, I have to give a lot of credit to those forefathers who saw the insight to create that. Mm-hmm. And that, we see its vision, in full force right now. And so, yes, very much on the radar of many companies.
With the funding piece of that, the TIFA arrangement that's there this year, there were some differences and recommendations for board members and things. This sorted itself out to your confidence?
Yes, I think so. I think, again, it's just communication, getting the communication out there, understanding the collaboration and partnership that's required to have a successful TIFA between the TIFA and the city, and kind of understanding, those resources, the impact they have, both in the past, in the present, and where we're headed in the future.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ted, so how about that Heritage Tower?
Yeah, of course.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
And, obviously it's difficult to say with 100% certainty that you have a project until you actually have a project. But in this case, particularly in the last couple of months, we've seen some significant commitments made to the project that really have moved it off center. So when we talk about 2016, again, being the kind of the year we laid the groundwork for successful projects, we feel really good about where that project is right now. We feel good about the commitments that have been made to it. We think that they've resolved most of the issues relative to their capital stack at this point.
Okay.
And so we're optimistic that you're going to see the physical manifestation of this project in 2017. So
wow.
We're excited.
Okay, so we've moved perhaps past a tipping point then.
I think that we have moved past the tipping point. The last time you and I talked, we talked about how it was difficult just to get over that last hump. And I feel like in the last, say, 6 weeks or so, we've gotten over that hump.
Well, the last time we talked, there were still questions about financing and issues of that nature. And you're saying we're past a lot of that now.
We're past probably the most challenging parts of that process, which isn't to say that there still aren't potential roadblocks that lie ahead, because there always are. But in terms of, is this particular project progressing? Yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, and you said it a moment ago that 2017 could likely be the year for that.
Yeah.
Boy, then talk about tipping points. That then is just another example of something you can point to as a huge success.
A week does not go by that we do not get a question, a comment, or a call about Heritage Tower.
All right. And that's why you're there, I suppose, so the phone lines are open.
Exactly.
All right. So we'll see you again in 2017. Thank you for the retrospective and the look forward. Rebecca Fleury, City Manager. Ted Deering, Assistant City Manager in Battle Creek. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.